Unverified reports put the death toll at above 400, with hundreds more injured, amid a resumption in hostilities after the parties failed to reach consensus on extending the three-phased ceasefire.
Our worst fears materialized. Airstrikes resumed across the entire Gaza Strip. Unconfirmed reports of hundreds of people killed. New evacuation orders issued by Israeli forces, and once again, the people of Gaza living in abject fear. Modest gains made during the ceasefire destroyed. Humanitarian workers remain on the ground. I'm in close touch with them, ready to provide life-saving support to survivors and carry out our humanitarian mission. We must be allowed to do so.
The airstrikes followed a March 2nd decision by the Israeli authorities to cut off the entry of all life-saving supplies, including food, medicine, fuel and cooking gas for the 2.1 million people still trapped in the devastated enclave, while the UN says their repeated requests to collect aid sitting at the Kerem Shalom border crossing have been systematically rejected, warning of disastrous consequences. This action was seen as part of efforts to pressure Hamas to agree to new terms, including the immediate release of around half the remaining hostages, instead of the phased approach agreed to earlier. Hamas did not agree to those terms. As the UN lamented key gains made during the weeks-long cessation in hostilities, as Fletcher argued that the international community could not allow a return to pre-ceasefire conditions.
Ceasefire proved what was possible. Aid delivery was enabled, and we scaled up quickly and effectively. 30 hostages and 8 deceased hostages and 583 Palestinian detainees were released during that period. Criminal activity in Gaza was brought under control, reducing the looting of humanitarian convoys by armed Palestinians. Over 4,000 trucks of aid per week entered Gaza. We reached over 2 million people, 540 water delivery points set up, 113,000 tents distributed to families by the UN humanitarian partners and others. Our polio vaccination targets were exceeded, reaching over 600,000 children. Maternity kits were expanded to support 5,000 births. Thousands of postpartum kits were distributed for mothers and newborns. It proves what's possible when we're allowed to do our job.
Palestine's envoy pleaded with the Council to stop what he described as criminal actions by Israel.
Palestinians are being killed indiscriminately, are being denied humanitarian aid indiscriminately, are being maimed and detained indiscriminately. We condemn these crimes in the strongest possible terms. This can never be justified and must stop immediately. Must stop immediately. And I agree with you, Madam President, when you said that you have a responsibility around the table to act. You are the Security Council. Act.
Israel laid the blame for the resumption firmly at Hamas's door that continues to hold over 50 hostages 17 months on.
Men, women, children, the elderly, innocents ripped from their homes and subjected to horrors beyond comprehension. Many are already believed to be dead, while others continue to be tormented day after day. For over a year and 4 months, they have been deprived of sunlight, medical care, the comfort of their family's embrace. Their conditions are unknown, their treatment unimaginable. This is the most urgent humanitarian crisis, and yet those who claim to be the loudest voices for human rights have somehow lost their voices on this matter. So let us be clear, any discussion of humanitarian suffering that does not begin with the hostage release is not an honest discussion.
South Africa earlier added its voice to the growing international condemnation at the resumption of hostilities in Gaza. Shervin Brycepease, SABC News, New York.